This week, I drove 5,700 miles in our Tesla Model Y to attend the largest Tesla event of the year. While I was in California, I had the exclusive opportunity to sit down with Sandy Munro and talk all things Tesla, 4680 battery cells, and the industry's transition to electric vehicles as a whole. Now, Sandy is irreverent, sometimes salty, sometimes spicy, but always candid. And even though I did have to blurb him a time or two, I do sincerely hope that you enjoy this interview as much as I did. Now, if you want to see more content like this, of course, subscribe to the channel and comment below. And with all of that, let's get on with the show. So today, my guest does not need any introductions. I'm so thrilled to bring Sandy Munro here to ask him some questions and hopefully bring some insight. Some of the things that all of us have been asking, but also as we look to the future of EVs, what is that transition going to look like? We have some obvious winners today, and I think that tomorrow could look very different than what we have today. And I'm hoping that Sandy and his team have done enough of the legwork for us that now would be a great time to ask him some of those questions. So with that, Sandy, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much, yes.
So let's start with Tesla. And you guys have spent a lot of time tearing down Teslas and have really been able to see firsthand a lot of the transition that I believe is going to happen in the industry.
Yeah.
That, you know, we haven't really seen this type of innovation in years. And we've heard a lot about 4680 cells and castings, and we're going to cover a lot of those things today. But generally speaking, when we think about Tesla and the innovation that they're bringing to the industry, what are your thoughts on what this means? What are the implications as a whole to what Tesla is doing?
Okay, so you mentioned years. I'm thinking more like decades and centuries. Tesla has really brought the world out of slumber, especially the engineering world, the automotive world. And it used to be, well, we're going to put on another car. We'll paint it a different color. We'll put a bigger engine in it, or we'll put a smaller engine in it, or we'll put more, more gears in the transmission, on and on. But it's been just basically the same. And I don't know if you got a chance to listen to anything that Elon had to say at the shareholders meeting, but I thought it was kind of cool that 10 years ago, they had made less than 3,000 cars, and today they've made over 3 million. I don't know of any car company ever that could say anything like that, even with the advent of the Model T. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment, and I think basically what he's done is rattled I think he's rattled the whole industry all around the world. Now, as far as the innovations that he's decided to put in, the only reason that the other guys, the other OEMs haven't done that is it's real simple. It doesn't follow the Harvard principle of outsourcing or innovation or any of the deals that, like for instance, the castings and the tremendous amount of change that goes into those vehicles. I mean, when they come up with a new idea, they'll give it a quick test and pop it in because they know it's better. With all the other OEMs, they sit on it for a long time, and then they give it to something called the change board. And we used to call it the no change board because it never changed. Nothing ever happened, ever. So at the end of the day, these guys, Tesla as a whole, Elon Musk as their leader, has turned the whole world upside down and got them to go away from what the auto industry has been doing until he showed up, to what they used to do a long time ago, where innovation was rewarded. You didn't get fired for innovation, and that's really and truly, the ideas have all been there, but the implementation is always stymied, usually by finance or something like that. And that's where the big problem is going to lie for all the other OEMs that are in the marketplace that are, stuck in those old ways.
So you guys just recently have been releasing some videos of the teardown of the 4680s, which has been really exciting for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We've heard 4680 for years at this point, and how important the 4680 cells are. And, there's consequences to what this is going to bring to the industry, as we've been told. So really the question becomes, is it truly that big of a game changer? And if so, is this a matter of first to market, or is this more of the industry is going to all move to the same format in short time?
Well, first off, let me show you something. This is what we call, this is basically our little baby here. It's called Elania. That's the first one out of the battery pack. So I painted it up and gave it a hat. So that's the first one out. Now, when you look at it, you know, it's big compared to anything else you've probably ever seen as far as a car battery. And the second thing is, that's pretty heavy. But you know what? If I took the equivalent power of that in the 2170s, it would be much heavier. Because I can put all the power into a smaller cylinder, this, to me, is the ultimate best way to go. Now, many people have put their bets on pouch or prismatic. So I've been in a lot of battery plants. I used to go to China a lot. I've been to quite a few battery plants. I know what it looks like. I know what they look like. And I know how fast you can produce a cylindrical battery versus a prismatic or pouch battery. And I know how many consequences you can get into if things don't go quite right. If I was going to go, and I'm not, going to go into the automotive industry and build a car, this would be my only choice. I would never dream of going any other direction, but everybody has their own reasons for doing that. I know that LG Chem and SK, they've bet the farm on this, so they want to go their way. That's fine. But if it was up to me, if I was the guy in charge of a car company, I would pick this, and I would build this, and I would try and find out how to improve it. So, and that's where I think Tesla's going to have a giant advantage, because this is lighter for the amount of power density that you're going to get. It's going to be lighter than what the guys in prismatic or the people who've got the 2170 batteries in their vehicles. It's best, as far as I'm concerned, the best engineering solution.
It's definitely interesting to watch the evolution, because in many regards, 1865 or 18650 was revolutionary. 2170 was revolutionary. Next generation 18650 is revolutionary, and 4680 is revolutionary.
Yeah.
So it's interesting as we watch, because the investments aren't just at Tesla. You know, they've really done a lot to incorporate their partners, not just suppliers, but partners. And we see those investments happening at Panasonic and the like, to also help make these, because Tesla knows they can't do this all on their own in the quantities that they're looking for. Does that translate to the industry?
It could, if you decide to make that decision. But there's a lot of pride associated with some of these people that are in there. And then they've made some, I wouldn't class them, well, bold would be one way of putting it. I think basically foolish statements, you know, saying things like, oh, we're better than Tesla, or we're going to be better than Tesla next year, or something like that. I mean, tempting the fates like that is just ridiculous. You just wind up in a situation where somehow you're going to have to either backtrack or just, you know, wind up losing your job. I think that in a lot of ways, these people should be working with Tesla, not against them. I believe that there's a huge counteroffensive, I guess, that might be the best word that I can think of. And that counteroffensive has to do more with politics than it has with anything else. I mean, everybody's heard the stuff about, you know, the president and GM and things like that. There's no sense rehashing it. It is there. There may be some foolish people out there that think, oh yeah, that's the truth because it's on TV, but at the end of the day, they'll catch on. You can never fool the people forever. You can fool some of the people some of the time, and but you can't fool all the people all the time. But that's kind of like the way it works, and sooner or later it catches up with you and it looks bad. You look much worse than you have in the past. Someone at General Motors made a statement about they're going to be, in 10 years they'll be bigger than Tesla in the EV world. That's pretty tough. Again, you go back to a statement that I made a little while ago. 10 years ago they made less than 3,000 cars, and now they've got 3 million. Plus they've got all these plants online, and these plants are made for, high volumes. And then on top of that, you've got all the engineering innovations, like I can put the battery pack and the seats and my harness into the car in one fell swoop. And I've got, actually, they've just done their calculation over at Tesla, 171 parts down to 2, and they also eliminated 1,600 or 1,700 welds. I mean, how do you compete with that? Just to talk about, how do you make money? We used to say that a part number, just carrying a part number at Ford Motor Company, was $10,000 a year. If I get rid of 170 parts, and I add 10,000, to multiply it times 10,000 a year, as an engineer, I could never, ever hit those kind of numbers ever. I didn't have control. But if I've got 2 parts versus 170 parts, it's not so hard to see how you can reduce things that are usually tough to touch. They're part of overhead. You can get rid of that, and then look at the factories. The factories are going to be the stamping plants, a common stamping plant for 170 parts, big parts like that, plus welding, fixturing, and robotics and whatnot. That's approaching 50% of a factory that would probably be about 600,000 square feet. So you chop that in half, 300,000. That's big stuff. That makes a huge difference to your overhead, and people don't usually look at that. They don't look at reduction of parts and things like that. So it's a really big deal. Tesla is just the batteries and the castings alone are going to save them a tremendous amount of money, and cut their overhead costs, cut their labor costs, cut their piece costs, on and on and on, and CapEx and all the other stuff that goes along with it.
I kind of want to follow that up with this discussion around the industry in electric cars. Up until the Tesla Model 3 was launched and showed success, there's nobody that can argue there was zero appetite for electric cars. Yes, there were some out there, but many argue that the options that were out there were almost a compliance option. It wasn't, nobody went all in until the success of the Model 3. I'm interested to get your insight on why you think that is, and also, as we look to the future, what does this mean for the industry? Like, how did we pivot from that point where the industry finally got comfortable with the idea of electric cars?
Well, I go back quite a ways, and the first electric car I worked on was the EV1 for General Motors. So I was brought in as a consulting house, and our job was, we were given our job directly from the top people at GM, because Bob Stempel, which I classify as a real visionary, wanted to have an electric vehicle. He saw the future. He saw energy shortages and stuff like that. He was really interested in making something happen. How did it die? Well, there's books and whatnot, but I'll tell you how it died, because I was right there. It died because Wall Street didn't like the idea. Hey, wait a minute, that's not making money today. That's not making money next month. Well, I get rid of Stempel, and they did. They fired him off. Our biggest success prior to some of the cars that we're working on currently, our biggest success was Club Car, where we developed an electric vehicle for Club Car specifically, and their market share went from basically 32% to 80% overnight. I mean, in one day. at the PGA conference that they have in Orange County, Florida. They sold 60,000 vehicles, and that year they sold 120,000 vehicles. That's like 3 times more than they'd ever envisioned ever before. Why? I mean, and most of them were electric. Why was that? Oh, because we showed them how they can make money at it. I mean, that's what it all boils right down to. And it's never going to happen using a B team. You know, the leftover guys that don't have anything to do. That just isn't the way it's going to work. You have to have people who are dedicated. You have to have people who are educated, or either educated or experienced. And quite frankly, Elon Musk worries that somebody is going to eliminate somebody because they don't have that right degree or something like that. He's interested in, I want the innovators, and sometimes like Edison, no education. Henry Ford, grade school. Elon Musk, he doesn't have the degrees that he's supposed to have in order to make things happen. He got bored and walked away. That's the kind of stuff that he's doing with his company. He has a different kind of perspective for hiring people and whatnot. And as long as you've got the other kind of folks that are saying, well, you can't get ahead unless you got an MBA. Why? I'm an engineer. Why do I need an MBA? What earthly reason do I need for that? These are the notions that have come along over the century of the car industry. They somehow, HR has kind of pushed this idea forward that these are good ideas. They're not. So I think that what you're going to see is some of the startup companies, Tesla, Rivian. I'm not going to go into a whole battery of these things, but these folks are thinking differently. And if you think differently, you're going to win. And if you don't, you're going to lose. So, and quite frankly, I know people talk a lot about the North American car industry, but really and truly, one of the most devastating things that just happened in the auto industry is Dietz getting fired. The guy in charge of Volkswagen, the guy that could have led the parade, he got fired. Who did they put in his place? Oh, the guy that's running Porsche. Oh, okay, well, that's going to make sense. I'm telling you what, if I find anybody that's got a car company and they're interested in leadership, I'd hire Dietz in a heartbeat, because he's got passion, and he doesn't give a damn about the old way of doing business. All he wants to do is get the electric car into the marketplace. And I think you're going to find that it's going to be a lot more about leadership and passion than it's going to be about, oh, did I show you my degree? Look at my sheepskin. It's not going to happen that way.
You know, I don't want to dive too much into it, but I do find it interesting, the Volkswagen situation, because sometime in the 2010s, we saw Volkswagen making this hard push to be offering the highest volume car in the United States, and there were some bumps in the road, but they did. And you know, when we look at legacy, I think that this is a recurring theme that becomes a challenge. Is how do we get their mindset past beating a Toyota Camry, right? How do we get their mindset beyond doing the same thing over and over when the future is changing, and the future is changing rapidly?
Well, there's a deal about old dogs and new tricks, but really and truly, when we start to look at how you become successful in many companies, it's by saying no. No gets you ahead. Yes can put you in jeopardy. So once a young engineer gets into a company and he finds out that, hey, nobody's really interested in you finding the next big innovation or something, what they really want you to do is say, hey boss, we're doing a great job. I don't think we can improve this. If you say no to innovation and you're a mid-manager, you're destined for the top. It's the way it works. Because if I make a change, that means I need investment. That means I need to have budgeted money. That means I'm going to be taking a risk for the company. That means on and on and on. So it's going to be tough. It's tough to get over the top of the way that they think, the culture that they have. Getting rid of a culture is a lot tougher than changing from one battery to the next. That's where it's going to be really, really tough for these guys. And I think that you're going to see a great big shakeup. And I think the guys that are standing the tallest and making the most noise are probably the ones that are going to lose the most. I think that the car companies, the newer car companies from China, the newer car companies here in the U.S. and in Europe, I think they're going to probably gain quite a bit of market share. And the big names, Toyota, Volkswagen, General Motors, they're going to be taking a back seat. And if we allow Chinese cars in, if we are truly going to be hey, this is the land of the free, and we allow Chinese cars to get in, then things will happen even faster in a bad direction for the Toyotas, the Hondas, the Toyotas, the Volkswagens especially, and on and on. They're going to have a really rough time, because I know all about the Chinese cars, and they are not junk. They're really good vehicles.
So as we start to pivot here and think about kind of this transition here in the United States, there was recently a Wall Street Journal article that was slamming electric cars because you can't take them on road trips. And I know that you've taken a number of road trips yourself in electric cars.
Yes.
Myself, I also happen to enjoy taking road trips in electric cars. How do we get to the point where we make this transition publicly, that these supposed roadblocks, they're not there, they're not real? Is it a price thing? Is it a range thing? What is it?
Nothing is what it boils right down to, is nothing. Now, okay, so I am not invited back to Bloomberg or the Wall Street Journal or Financial Times or any of these other TV kinds of programs. And what's the reason? Because I call these out one at a time. As long as they last, they're just full of crap. Corey and I went 8,000 miles in 11 days. We didn't have a problem. We crisscrossed the United States from Oregon all the way down to Texas. You know what's in the middle of this United States? Nothing. I've never been there before, and I'm telling you what, you can't even see a tumbleweed. All it is desert and flat. There's nothing except for one thing: Tesla charging stations. And we had no trouble whatsoever. Every time I hear one of these things, oh, well, you can't recycle batteries. Oh, come on. Is this guy an engineer? If he is he a practicing engineer, or is he one of these guys who managed to get through and then, I found my way in the MBA? No, these guys are fools, and I don't suffer fools. They're talking through their tail. It's all baloney, and that's that. And if we could possibly talk Elon Musk into allowing us to use his chargers with all cars, game over. Exactly, game over. There's no. Every time you really touched a button, didn't you? Anyhow, I really feel that there's the amount of misconception, the amount of what is it? If it bleeds, it reads. That's what these clowns are. They aren't even journalists. They're not journalists. They've just found out that the only way that they're going to get anybody to say anything or pay attention to them is if they say something goofy or stupid. And I'm telling you what, the last time I was on Bloomberg, they just cut me off. That guy didn't know anything. Why? Because, well, very sophisticated guy. He talks really low, and he talks with great, background, and he wrinkles his forehead, and yes, let me tell you a little quietly, and then you'll know that I'm really, really smart, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and what did I say? That's all wrong. That's incorrect. That won't work. That's a lie. And apparently they don't like that. So the truth will set you free? Yeah, it did. I don't get those kind of jobs anymore.
Yeah, that's right. But it's important that people like you who have this big podium and are well respected, rightfully so, in the industry, continue to speak, because at some point, you know, we have to find a way to overcome this FUD about what EVs are and aren't, because it's all a joke. You know,
No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke at all. It's holding back progress. It's not a joke. It's a disgusting display of stupidity. That's what it boils right down to, and we've got to try and stop it. So that's why, you know, you were saying, oh, thanks for the interview and what. That's all. You know what? If we don't get the word out to everybody, well, then everybody is going to have to they'll have to cow down to a bunch of people who are pandering to them with what they think will make them nervous, or buy soap, or whatever it is that they you know, that they have to do in order to keep their TV stations running. I mean, no, it's very, very important that that the word gets, a truthful word gets out, and these clowns that that basically don't know what they're talking about get put in their place, shut up, sit down, or go and sell shoes, or do whatever you want, but don't talk about EVs anymore. So,
if Elon Musk was sitting here, what would you say to him today? Or perhaps even better, what have you said to him? What advice do you have for Elon Musk?
Advice for Elon Musk: keep doing what you're doing. He's a lot smarter than I am. And when we sat down together I'd like to try and do another interview with him. I'd like to talk to him, and basically, it wouldn't be much of a conversation. It would only be congratulations. Wow, look what you've done. This is amazing. I'm really impressed. And then maybe we could talk about the differences between what he has and what Brand X has, and who I think might be the up-and-comers. But at the end of the day, he doesn't need much in the way of advice. Not at all. That's why they're not Tesla. People accuse me all the time of, you know, trying to cater to Tesla or something like that. We don't have a contract with them. We've never taken a penny from them, actually. So I'm working with the companies that are trying to catch up to where he is, and that's in essence why I would like to talk to him. I'd like to talk to him to find out, you know, what his next big thing might be. We know about the Cybertruck, but really what I'd like to know about is, where's that $24,000 you know, small car for the average guy? I'd like to see something there.
Very good. Sandy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's much appreciated. So thank you everybody for joining. I hope that you enjoyed the interview, and we will catch you next time.